Hello, everyone. Good evening and welcome to a new session. So, as we all know, West Bengal SET exam is set to be held on the 14th of this month, on the 14th of December, right? So, since we have not done a single session yet on this particular exam, we thought let's do a marathon revision session for this exam. So today's session is dedicated to WB SET exam, West Bengal SET exam. And in this session tonight, we will do lots and lots of questions. Okay, so get ready to do a session of almost 40-45 minutes, right? Because tonight we will do lots and lots of questions, and let's have a thorough revision for this exam. The syllabus is same to that of NET exam. So those of you who are preparing for NET as well, they should also attend this session. Okay? So good evening, and welcome to this session. Good evening, welcome. So are you all ready? Yes? Right. So let me start by sharing my screen. Yes. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome. Yes, the screen is visible to you all, right? Okay. Good evening. Yes. I was waiting for you to start commenting on this so I can just see your comments live. Yes. Now I can see your comments. Yeah. Good evening. So, welcome to this marathon revision session of West Bengal SET. Let me remind you all the syllabus of both West Bengal SET and NET is same. The syllabus is same. So those of you who are preparing for the upcoming NET exam should also attend this session. Don't leave the session just by seeing the title as WB SET. Stay and attend this session. And I can guarantee this will help you. Okay? So yes, now let's get started. Okay. Let's move on to the first question for tonight, and please like this session. Okay, right. Now let's start. When species meet by dash explores the complex co-evolving relationships between humans and animals, particularly domestic ones, challenging human exceptionalism by framing interactions through concepts like companion species, symbiosis, and becoming with, moving beyond separation to find shared meaning and ethics in multi-species cohabitation using personal stories and broader cultural examples. It's a foundational text in animal studies and post-humanism advocating for interspecies ethics. Who wrote this work, When Species Meet? Tell me, who wrote this work, When Species Meet? It's obviously by Donna Haraway. Donna Haraway. She's also the one who wrote the Cyborg Manifesto. She also wrote the Cyborg Manifesto. Okay, When Species Meet by Donna Haraway. She also wrote the Cyborg Manifesto. Cyborg Manifesto. Okay, right. Next. Deep ecology is an environmental philosophy and movement coined by Erne Naess that advocates for the intrinsic value of all living beings, not just their usefulness to humans, urging a fundamental shift from Anthropocene to ecocentric views by questioning our relationship with nature and promoting broader ethical consideration for the entire web of life. So, deep ecology uh, It's an environmental philosophy and movement coined by Erne Ness. Is it true or false? Tell me. Is it true or false? Yes. Deep Ecology by Erne Ness. Deep Ecology by Erne Ness. True. Very true. Okay. Next. Next question. The Environmental Imagination by Dash is a foundational book in eco-criticism, arguing that literature shapes our environmental understanding and proposing eco-criticism as a field that studies the link between literature and environment. Centered on American nature writing and figures like Henry David Thoreau. This work calls for an ecocentric reading of texts, seeing Thoreau's Walden as a key example of writing that reveals nature's intrinsic value beyond just being a human backdrop, urging a new vision for literature to help address the environmental crisis by fostering deeper ecological awareness and connection to place from colonial times to contemporary works. Who wrote this work? The Environmental Imagination. The Environmental Imagination. It's a major work in eco-criticism. Yes, The Environmental Imagination is by Lawrence Buell. The Environmental Imagination by Lawrence Buell. It's a foundational book in eco-criticism, which argues that literature shapes our environmental understanding and proposes eco-criticism as a field that studies the link between literature and environment. Correct. The Environmental Imagination by Lawrence Buell. Got it? Yes. Next. He is best known for proposing the Gaia hypothesis, which postulates that the Earth functions as a self-regulating system. Who is he? He is best known for proposing the Gaia hypothesis, which postulates that the Earth functions as a self-regulating system. Who is he? Who propounded this Gaia hypothesis? Tell me. Who propounded this Gaia hypothesis? It is James Lovelock. James Lovelock is best known for proposing the Gaia hypothesis, which postulates that the Earth functions as a self-regulating system. Self-regulating system. Got it? Right. Very good. Next. So before we move on, let me remind you all that we are starting our new net online batch from this coming January. From this coming January. Okay, right. Vandana Shiva and Maria Mice's ecofeminism. So Vandana Shiva and Maria Mice apparently wrote a book called Ecofeminism, which argues that patriarchal capitalism systematically exploits women and nature by devaluing life-sustaining activities in favor of profit, creating ecological crisis and social oppression. They critique dichotomies of male and female and development as violent, proposing a new paradigm based on women's subsistence perspective, a focus on life, local economies, interconnectedness, and limits to build a sustainable and just world. Is it true or false? This book, Ecofeminism, by Vandana Shiva and Maria Mice. Is it true or false? Ecofeminism by Vandana Shiva and Maria Mice. Correct. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Vandana Shiva and Maria Mice's ecofeminism. Correct. The Eco-Criticism Reader was published in which year? The Eco-Criticism Reader was published in which year? Tell me. The Eco-Criticism Reader was published in which year? The Eco-Criticism Reader was published in 1996. The Eco-Criticism Reader was published in 1996. All right. The Eco-Criticism Reader was published in 1996. Romantic Ecology, Wordsworth and the Environmental Tradition by Dash argues Wordsworth was an ecological poet who deeply integrated humanity and nature, not a reactionary escapist, shaping modern green thought through his green humanism and detailed observation, challenging critics who saw him as ignoring industrial realities and showing how his focus on landscape offers vital lessons for today's environmental crisis. Who wrote this book, Romantic Ecology, Wordsworth and the Environmental Tradition? Yes, it's a work by Jonathan Bate. Jonathan Bate wrote Romantic Ecology, Wordsworth and the Environmental Tradition, which argues Wordsworth was an ecological poet who deeply integrated humanity and nature. Okay, okay, right. Jonathan Bate. Next, Data Feminism is a 2020 book by American professors Catherine D'Ignacio and Lauren F. Klein. Part literature review and part call to action, Data Feminism provides a framework for data scientists seeking to learn how feminism can help them work toward justice, and for feminists who want to focus their efforts on the growing field of data science. So, is it true that Data Feminism is a 2020 work by American professors Catherine D'Ignacio and Lauren F. Klein? Is it true? Yes, absolutely. Data Feminism is a 2020 book by American professors Catherine D'Ignacio and Lauren F. Klein. Catherine D'Ignacio and Lauren F. Klein wrote Data Feminism in 2020. Okay, right. The Mirror and the Lamp by Dash explains the shift in literary theory from viewing art as a mirror, a reflecting reality, to seeing it as a lamp, a radiating the artist's inner light. A key change during a romanticism, analyzing these changing ideas about the artist, audience, and universe through classical to modern times, especially focusing on the romantic era's focus on the poet's mind shaping experience. So, who wrote this critical work of the Romantic era called The Mirror and the Lamp? The Mirror and the Lamp. It's a very important critical work of the Romantic era by M.H. Abrams. M.H. Abrams wrote The Mirror and the Lamp. The Mirror and the Lamp. Data Feminism is by Data Feminism is by Catherine D'Ignacio and F. Klein. Catherine D'Ignacio and F. Klein. Who wrote The Environmental Imagination? Who wrote The Environmental Imagination? Lawrence Buell. Lawrence Buell. Is Vandana Shiva an ecofeminist? Is Vandana Shiva an ecofeminist? Yes. Who wrote Silent Spring? Who wrote Silent Spring? It is by Rachel Carson. Silent Spring is by Rachel Carson. Okay? Silent Spring is by Rachel Carson. Okay? Right. Illuminations, Essays and Reflections by Dash is a collection of influential essays on art, literature, and philosophy. Who wrote Illuminations? It's a collection of essays by whom? Illuminations is a collection of essays by Walter Benjamin. Walter Benjamin. Benjamin belonged to the Frankfurt School. True or false? Benjamin belonged to the Frankfurt School. True or false? True. Benjamin belonged to the Frankfurt School. Frankfurt School. Benjamin talked about aura in which work? Benjamin talked about aura in which work? The work of art in the age of mechanical reproduction. Benjamin talked about aura in his essay, The Work of Art in the Age of Mechanical Reproduction. The work of art in the age of mechanical reproduction. Okay? Yes. Benjamin wrote Arcades Project. True or false? Benjamin wrote Arcades Project. True or false? True. Benjamin also wrote Arcades Project. Arcades Project. He also wrote this collection of essays called Illuminations. Illuminations. Okay, right. Will in the World. How Shakespeare Became Shakespeare by Dash is a biography that explains how a glove maker's son from Stratford upon Avon became the world's greatest playwright by weaving Shakespeare's life story with the turbulent, vibrant history of Elizabethan England, filling gaps in historical records with plausible scenarios linking his experiences like family struggles, religious tensions, and public life to themes and characters in his famous plays from Romeo and Juliet to Hamlet. So, who wrote this work, Will in the World? How Shakespeare Became Shakespeare? Yes, it is by Stephen Greenblatt. Stephen Greenblatt. He was a famous new historicist. New historicist. And he used the term cultural poetics for the first time. He had used the term cultural poetics for the first time. He also wrote works like A Renaissance Self-Fashioning, Shakespearean Negotiations, Hamlet in Purgatory. All these are other major works of Stephen Greenblatt. Stephen Greenblatt. Okay. Yes, new historicism. Okay. Next. The Liberal Imagination. Essays on Literature and Society is a collection of 16 essays by Dash. Who wrote The Liberal Imagination? Who wrote The Liberal Imagination? The Liberal Imagination is a collection of essays by whom? The Liberal Imagination is a collection of essays by whom? The Liberal Imagination. It's a collection of essays by Lionel Trilling. Lionel Trilling. Who talked about secondary imagination as esemplastic power? Who talked about secondary imagination as esemplastic power? Coleridge. Coleridge talked about secondary imagination as esemplastic power in Biographia Literaria, published in 1817. Coleridge talked about secondary imagination as esemplastic power in his work Biographia Literaria, published in 1817. Coleridge coined the term mountaineering. True or false? Coleridge coined the term mountaineering. True or false? Coleridge coined the term mountaineering. True or false? It is absolutely true. Coleridge had coined the term mountaineering. Coleridge had coined the term mountaineering. Mountaineering. Okay, right. Are you all enjoying the session? Are you all enjoying the session? Yes? Okay. It is absolutely true that Coleridge had coined the term mountaineering. E.M. yeah. E.M. Foster's Why the Novel Matters argues that novels are the bright book of life because they're superior to other forms of writing like philosophy and science at capturing the full lived experience of being human. The novel's importance lies in its ability to show people when they are truly alive versus dead in life, guiding readers to an instinct for life by presenting the unpredictable, changing nature of reality and human emotion rather than abstract ideas. He believed that by exploring the complex and sometimes contradictory experiences of living characters, the novel helps readers embrace their whole selves, mind, body, and soul, and stay vibrantly alive. So, is it true? No. All of you are absolutely wrong. So, I have successfully tricked you all, and I want some toffees for that. Net exam is just a few days away. WB said his exam is just a few days away, and all of you have successfully been tricked. Why the Novel Matters is not a work by E.M. Foster. It's a work by D.H. Lawrence. So, yeah. E.M. Foster had written aspects of the novel. Aspects of the novel. And Why the Novel Matters is by D.H. Lawrence. So, yes. All of you have been tricked. Yes. So the right answer is D.H. Lawrence's Why the Novel Matters argues that novels are the bright book of life because they're superior to other forms of writing like philosophy and science at capturing the full lived experience of being human. Okay, so Why the Novel Matters is by D.H. Lawrence. E.M. Foster had written aspects of the novel. All right. Okay, next. Real and Imagined Women, Gender, Culture and Postcolonialism by Dash is a collection of feminist essays analyzing Indian female subjectivity by challenging Western stereotypes, particularly the third world woman as victim through reading resistance in texts, films, and cultural practices like sati, bride burning, and the construction of the new Indian woman and leader, exploring how tradition, modernity, media, and political forces shape real and imagined female identities in post-colonial India. So, who wrote this work? Real and Imagined Women, Gender, Culture, and Post-Colonialism. Real and Imagined Women, Gender, Culture, and Post-Colonialism. It's a work by Rajeshwari Sundar Rajan. Rajeshwari Sundar Rajan. She had also famously edited the collection of essays called The Lie of the Land. The Lie of the Land. Rajeshwari Sundar Rajan had famously also edited the collection of essays called The Lie of the Land. Susie Tharu had written Subject to Change. Susie Tharu had written Subject to Change. Sarah Suleri had written the Rhetoric of English India. Sarah Suleri had written the Rhetoric of English India. Ashish Nandi had written The Intimate Enemy. The Intimate Enemy. Okay, right? Great. So, Real and Imagined Women, Gender, Culture and Post-Colonialism. It's a work by Rajeshwari Sundar Rajan. Got it? Okay. A Journal of the Plague Year, being observations or memorials of the most remarkable occurrences, as well public as private, which happened in London during the last great visitation in 1665, commonly called a Journal of the Plague Year, is a book by Dash, first published in March 1722. Who wrote a Journal of the Plague Year? A Journal of the Plague Year. It is by Daniel Defoe. Daniel Defoe. Daniel Defoe wrote a Journal of the Plague Year. A Journal of the Plague Year. Published in 1722. Published in 1722. Okay, right. Gun Island by Dash follows a rare book dealer, Deen Datta, as a Bengali myth about the gun merchant, and Monosha Devi pulls him from Brooklyn to the Sundarbans in India, weaving together folklore, climate change, migration, and modern day refugees, blurring reality and fantasy as the ancient tale mirrors contemporary crisis and human displacement. Who wrote Gun Island? Who wrote the novel Gun Island? It is by Amitav Ghosh. It is by Amitav Ghosh. Amitav Ghosh wrote Gun Island. Gun Island. Please memorize the chronology of Amitav Ghosh. They can ask you that thing as well. They can also ask you the chronology of the works of Amitav Ghosh. Okay? Right. On Liberty, 1859, which argued in favor of the freedom of the individual against the tyranny of the majority, presented strong arguments in favor of complete freedom of thought and discussion, and argued that no state or society has the right to prevent the free development of human individuality. Who wrote this work, On Liberty, published in 1859? Who wrote On Liberty, published in 1859? Why are you all saying John Ruskin? It's not John Ruskin. You guys are wrong. On Liberty is by J.S. Mill. On Liberty is by J.S. Mill. On Liberty, published in 1859. It's by J.S. Mill, which argued in the favor of the freedom of the individual against the tyranny of the majority. On Liberty is by J.S. Mill. J.S. Mill. All right, next. The Weave of My Life, a Dalit Woman's Memoirs by Dash, is a powerful autobiography detailing her life as a Dalit woman in India, exposing the brutal realities of caste and gender oppression, poverty, and systemic discrimination, while also celebrating resilience, the fight for rights, Buddhist conversion, and the burgeoning Dalit consciousness. offering a poignant, intimate look at survival and identity from the margins. Yes, who wrote this autobiography? The Weave of My Life, a Dalit woman's memoirs. It is by Urmila Pawar. It is by Urmila Pawar. Okay? The Weave of My Life is by Urmila Pawar. Next. Kurt Vonnegut was born in Indianapolis, Indiana on November 11, 1922. He was associated with what? Kurt Vonnegut was associated with what? Harlem Renaissance, postmodernism, expressionism, or cubism? Kurt Vonnegut was associated with what? Hey, everyone, do like the session, okay? Yeah. All right, do like the session. All of you again wrong. Kurt Vonnegut was associated with postmodernism. Postmodernism. It is not cubism. Cubism was of Picasso. So Kurt Vonnegut was associated with postmodernism. Postmodernism. Okay? Yeah. Chalo. Next. Returning to India in 1939, he edited Changing India with Iqbal Singh, an anthology of modern Indian thought from Ram Mohan Roy to Jawaharlal Nehru. He participated in the Quit India movement of 1942. In 1943-44, he co-edited a journal from Bombay called Tomorrow with Ahmed Ali. He was a prime mover in the formation of cultural organization Sri Vidya Samiti, devoted to reviving the values of ancient Indian civilization. Who is he? He edited Changing India with Iqbal Singh. He co-edited a journal called Tomorrow with Ahmed Ali. Yes, it is Raja Rao. It is Raja Rao. He edited Changing India with Iqbal Singh, an anthology of modern Indian thought from Ram Mohan Roy to Jawaharlal Nehru. It is Raja Rao. Raja Rao. Okay, right. Hamatriya is a poem by Dash. Who wrote the poem Hamatriya? Who wrote the poem Hamatriya? Who wrote the poem Hamatriya? Hamatriya. Who wrote the poem Hamatriya? It is by Ralph Waldo Emerson, the transcendentalist philosopher. Hamatriya is a poem by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Which was the journal of the transcendentalists? Which was the journal of the transcendentalists? The Dial. The Dial was the journal of the transcendentalists. Yes. Yes. Pseudo Martyr is a 1610 polemical prose tract in English by Dash. Pseudo Martyr is a 1610 polemical prose tract in English by whom? Pseudo Martyr It's a polemical tract in English. It is by John Donne. John Donne. Was John Donne the pioneer of the metaphysical poets? Was John Donne the pioneer of the metaphysical poets? Yes. Yes. Who were the religious metaphysicals? Who were the religious metaphysicals? George Herbert, Henry Vaughan, Stephen Crenshaw. George Herbert, Henry Vaughan, Stephen Crenshaw. The Temple is a collection of religious poems by. The Temple is a collection of religious poems by. The Temple is a collection of religious poems by George Herbert. George Herbert. George Herbert was considered a saint among the metaphysicals. George Herbert was considered a saint among the metaphysicals. Okay, yes. Laburnum for My Head is a collection of 8 short stories by Dash. And these stories are about the lives of people from the vibrant and troubled region of Nagaland in northeast India. Who wrote this collection of short stories called Laburnum for My Head? Laburnum for My Head is a collection of short stories by whom? Laburnum for My Head is a collection of short stories by Temsula Au. Temsula Au. Correct. Who talked about the concept of desiring machine? Which theorists talked about the concept of desiring machines? Which theorists talked about the concept of desiring machines? Say, which theorists talked about the concept of desiring machines? It is Deleuze and Guattari. Deleuze and Guattari talked about the concept of desiring machines. All right. So that's all from our side for tonight. I hope this session will help you in not only in case of WBSET exam, but also for the upcoming NET exam. And we are starting our new NET online batch from this coming January. So you can join us. Tomorrow also, tomorrow we will be felicitating our Karnataka set achievers on YouTube from 9 p.m. onwards. So see you tomorrow at 9 p.m. All right. Tomorrow, we won't do any session of revision, but tomorrow we will be felicitating our Karnataka set achievers. So thank you so much for joining, and thank you so much for staying throughout the session. All right. So please take care. Keep studying. Good night. Bye. And do like the session before.